Ever wished you could, like, download skills straight into your brain? Matrix style?
Like Neo learning Kung Fu.
Exactly. Well, surgeons might be getting the next best thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and trust me, this is even cooler than dodging bullets in slow motion.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
We're going on a deep dive today into the world of robot surgeons.
Okay.
But this isn't about robots, simply lending a helping hand in the operating room.
Right.
This is about robots learning surgery like humans do.
Oh, wow.
By watching and absorbing knowledge.
So they're like actually learning.
They're actually learning.
That's incredible.
I know. You got a stack of articles on this.
I do, yeah.
So let's jump right in and see what's really going on.
All right, let's do it. What's so fascinating about all this is that we're talking about a level of sophistication in robotics that was, until recently, purely science fiction.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get into the mind-blowing stuff,
Okay.
let's start with the basics.
Sure.
What kind of robot are we dealing with here?
Well, the robot in question is the Da Vinci surgical system.
Okay.
And you might already be familiar with it.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
There are nearly 7,000 of these systems being used in hospitals around the world.
7,000. Wow. That's a lot more than I would have guessed.
It's a lot, yeah.
If they're already so widespread, what's the problem that these researchers are trying to solve?
Well, the Da Vinci, while incredibly advanced, is still very dependent on human surgeons.
Okay.
It's not very precise on its own,
Uh-huh.
which limits what it can do independently.
So it's like having a super high-tech surgical assistant,
Yes,
but one that still needs constant guidance.
exactly. And that's where this research comes in.
Okay.
They've found a way to use something called imitation learning.
Imitation learning.
Yeah.
Okay.
To teach the robot to perform surgical tasks with a whole new level of precision and autonomy.
Okay, break that down for me. Imitation learning, is that like showing the robot surgical how-to videos on YouTube?
Well, it's a bit more sophisticated than that, but the basic idea is similar.
Okay.
Instead of pre-programming every single move,
Right.
the robot learns by watching videos of expert surgeons performing procedures.
Oh, wow.
Think of it like a human resident learning by observing their attending physician during surgery.
So the robot is basically going through med school
You could say that.
without all those late-night study sessions.
Yeah, exactly. But what's truly remarkable is that it's using the same type of AI that powers ChatGPT.
Oh, wow.
Only instead of words, it's learning the language of robotic movement.
Wait, so you're telling me the same technology that can write poems and translate languages can now learn to perform surgery?
Yes.
This is blowing my mind.
Yeah, it analyzes the videos and figures out the precise motions the robot needs to make to perform the surgical tasks.
But hold on, if the Da Vinci isn't very precise on its own, wouldn't that make it difficult for the robot to learn accurately?
It's a good question.
How did the researchers overcome that obstacle?
That's where things get even more interesting. Instead of teaching the robot absolute positions, which is where the Da Vinci's imprecision comes in,
Right.
they focused on relative movements.
Relative movement.
Yeah. Think of it like this. Imagine you're trying to thread a needle.
Okay, I'm picturing it. Go on.
You wouldn't focus on the exact coordinates of the needle and thread in space.
Mm-hmm.
You'd adjust your movements based on their relative positions to each other.
Right.
That's exactly what the researchers taught the robot to do.
Ah, that makes so much more sense. So instead of telling the robot, move to this specific point, they're teaching it to understand the relationships between its movements and the surgical tools. But how does that translate to actual surgical skills? What can this robot actually do?
The robot mastered some fundamental surgical skills that are essential for any surgeon. Needle manipulation, lifting and repositioning tissue, and even suturing.
Wait, suturing, like stitching up wounds.
Yes.
Are we talking about Frankenstein-level stuff here?
Not quite Frankenstein, but it's definitely a big step.
Uh-huh.
And there's this one anecdote from the research that really highlights how this robot goes beyond simple mimicry.
Okay, I'm all ears. Spill the tea.
The researchers were testing the robot's suturing skills, and at one point the needle slipped from the robot's grasp.
Uh-oh. Did it just freeze up?
Nope.
Did they have to hit the reset button?
Nope. What happened next is what makes this research so remarkable. The robot paused, analyzed the situation, and then proceeded to pick up the dropped needle and continue suturing as if nothing had happened.
No way. It figured that out on its own.
It did.
That's insane.
It is. And this is a huge deal because it demonstrates that the robot is going beyond just mimicking.
Right.
It's starting to understand the goal of the task, anticipate problems, and adapt its behavior accordingly.
So it's not just following a set of pre-programmed instructions.
Exactly.
It's actually problem solving in real time.
Yes.
This is starting to feel like we're stepping into the realm of science fiction.
It's definitely pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible with robotics.
Right.
And what's even more fascinating is that by teaching the robot relative movements,
Right.
the researchers tapped into a fundamental aspect of human learning.
Okay.
We naturally learn by adapting and adjusting our movements based on the environment and feedback.
It's like the robot is developing a sense of touch.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't have actual skin and nerves.
Exactly. And that's
Huh.
what makes this approach so powerful.
Yeah.
It allows the robot to interact with the world in a much more nuanced and adaptable way.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. But let's talk about the bigger picture here.
Sure.
What does this mean for the future of surgery? Are we talking robot surgeons replacing human doctors?
That's a big question. And there are definitely ethical and practical considerations to address.
Of course.
But in terms of potential, this breakthrough changes the game completely. Imagine a world where robots can perform complex surgical procedures with the precision and consistency of a machine, but with the adaptability and problem-solving skills of a human surgeon.
So you're saying that instead of replacing human surgeons, these robots could actually enhance their capabilities and make surgery safer and more effective for everyone.
Precisely. Think of it as a collaboration between human expertise and robotic precision.
Okay, I'm starting to see the possibilities here, but let's get specific. What are some of the concrete ways this technology could change the surgical landscape?
Well, for one, speed.
Speed.
Yeah, instead of taking years to program a robot for a single specific surgical procedure, this approach allows robots to learn a vast array of surgeries in a matter of days just by watching videos.
So we're talking about drastically reducing the time it takes to train surgical robots.
Exactly.
That's huge. What else?
Accuracy.
Okay.
The potential for fewer medical errors and more precise procedures is enormous. Robots don't get tired, they don't have tremors, and they can consistently execute movements with incredible precision, especially once they've mastered the techniques through observation.
That's a game changer for patient safety. But what about the whole robots taking over fear?
Right.
How autonomous can these robots actually become?
That's a question we need to consider carefully as this technology continues to evolve. But this research is definitely a significant step towards robots performing complex surgeries more independently.
So are we talking about a future where robots are performing routine surgeries, freeing up human surgeons to focus on the most complex and challenging cases?
Exactly. It's not about replacing human expertise, but rather augmenting it and expanding the possibilities of what we can achieve in medicine.
Okay, this is all incredibly exciting, but I can't help but wonder if robots can learn surgery this quickly. What else could they master? Could this technology be applied to other fields beyond medicine?
Absolutely. This approach to robot learning has massive implications beyond surgery. Think about any task that involves physical dexterity and learned skills.
Give me some examples. I'm having trouble wrapping my head around the possibilities here.
Manufacturing, construction, even creative fields like sculpting or painting. Imagine a robot learning to build a house by watching videos of expert carpenters,
Yeah.
or a robot learning to play the piano by observing a concert pianist.
Wow, you're right. The possibilities really are endless. We could be on the verge of a whole new era of automation driven by robots that learn by observation just like humans do.
And that raises some important questions. What does this mean for the future of work?
Right.
What happens to human expertise in a world where robots can learn complex skills so quickly?
You know, it's amazing to think that we started this deep dive talking about robots assisting in surgery, and now we're talking about robots potentially performing complex procedures on their own. It's like we've fast-forwarded into the future.
What's truly groundbreaking here is that we're seeing a convergence of cutting-edge technologies, robotics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, all coming together to create possibilities that were once the stuff of science fiction.
It's wild. Okay, so let's bring it all home for our listener. What are the key takeaways from this deep dive into robot surgeons?
The most significant takeaway is that robots are now learning like humans do through observation and imitation.
Right.
This is a complete paradigm shift from traditional robot programming, which relied on painstakingly coding every single movement.
It's like we've unlocked a shortcut to robot skill development. No more tedious programming, just show them the moves, and they're good to go. But what does this mean for the future of fields like surgery?
The potential for revolutionizing surgery is enormous. Imagine a future where surgical robots, trained through observation, can perform routine procedures with incredible precision.
Okay.
This would free up human surgeons to focus on the most complex and challenging cases, ultimately benefiting everyone.
Not to mention the potential for fewer medical errors and faster recovery times for patients. It's a win-win situation. But, this goes way beyond the operating room, doesn't it? We were just talking about robots learning construction or even artistic skills. What are your final thoughts on that?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it raises a fundamental question. If robots can learn surgery this quickly, what other complex human skills could they master through observation? What does this mean for the future of work and expertise itself? Imagine robots learning to code right, compose music, all by observing human experts. It's a future full of both exciting possibilities and complex challenges.
Wow, it makes you wonder, what will it mean to be an expert in a world where robots can learn so quickly? It's mind-blowing and honestly a little bit intimidating.
One thing's for sure, the way we think about robots and their capabilities is changing rapidly, and this is just the beginning.
Well, I think we've given our listener plenty to ponder today. If robots can learn surgery by watching videos, what's stopping them from learning anything? Suddenly my to-do list feels a lot less daunting, but also kind of pointless.
It's a future full of possibilities, and it's up to us to shape it responsibly.
Mind officially blown. Thanks for joining me on this incredible deep dive. Until next time, keep those brains curious, folks.